So you're thinking of moving to Connecticut and everybody keeps telling you the same thing. $500,000 doesn't buy you anything anymore. I'm here to tell you that is flat out wrong, and I've got all the data to prove it. In this video, I'm showing you 8 Connecticut towns where that budget still gets you a real house, real land, and in some cases, a much lower monthly payment than you might expect. And make sure you stick around for the last town because it may look expensive on paper, but once you see the taxes, it might be the best value on the entire list. First off, let's get right into it, and that is Bristol. Bristol's 2025 median sales price landed at just $325,000. Now think about that number for a second and really sit with it because it genuinely matters. If your budget is up to $500,000, you're not buying an average house in Bristol. You're buying one of the nicer houses in Bristol, and you've got real room to spare. I'm talking about places like 128 Fairlawn. That was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath Cape, and it sold at $420,000. It had an eat-in kitchen, a living room, a wood-burning fireplace, and it even had a garage with room to spread out. Bristol is a working-class city with a genuine identity. It is home to the Bristol Mum Festival every fall. It has lake compounds, the oldest amusement park in the entire country. You get real neighborhoods here, some with big, level lots, some closer in with quick access to downtown, and you're centrally located enough to reach Hartford, Waterbury, or even the shoreline, with any of them feeling too far away. And this matters once you're actually living here on a day-to-day basis. Bristol's mill rate comes in at 33.75, which is right about in the middle of the pack for all the ones we're going to talk about today. It's manageable. It's not the lowest number we'll see, but it's nowhere near the highest either. Bristol is also home to ESPN's world headquarters, which surprises a lot of people, and they don't realize it's actually based right here in Connecticut. It also gives the town a little bit of extra energy and job presence you don't always find in a city this size. You've also got Rockwell Park right in town, which has a lot of outdoor space. You also have great access to Route 6 and Route 72, so getting anywhere else in central Connecticut is never a hassle. And here's where most people screw up their search thoroughly. They hear the word affordable and they assume that means they're settling for less. It does not. It means you have options. It means you get to choose the upgraded kitchen instead of the one that you'll have to fix later, or the finished basement instead of the one you're going to spend a year and a half saving up and trying to do yourself. Bristol proves this point right out of the gate. Next up is Naugatuck with a median price of $340,000 for 2025. Naugatuck sits right along the Naugatuck River, and it's got this old mill town character to it. Brick buildings downtown, a real sense of history, and it's mixed in with some newer development that's going on there. They're building a great new train station. Mayor Hess has big hopes for Naugatuck, and it's really coming to fruition. I know this town very well, and what people don't expect is how much land you get here compared to towns that are just neighboring. Take 93 Tawny Thrush, for example, closed at $410,000. It was a 4-bedroom, 2 full bath, had a gas fireplace, a living room, eat-in kitchen that really flowed perfectly. You're still close enough to Waterbury, but far enough away from Waterbury. It's close to the highway. You get lower price point than a lot of surrounding areas for a similar lifestyle. And Naugatuck's downtown has been seeing real investment lately. New restaurants opening up, a genuine visible sense of momentum that simply was not there a few years ago. Now, I want to be straight with you. That's because I always am. Naugatuck's mill rate is 39.79. That is one of the higher numbers on today's list. The home prices are fantastic, but your monthly tax bill is going to reflect the higher tax rate. So go in with that expectation right from the start, and you should be fine. What I always tell buyers about Naugatuck is the value is real. You just need to plan your monthly number so that mill rate doesn't sneak up on you and surprise you after the closing. A quick gut check for you right now while you're watching this. If you're picturing your move to Connecticut and you're only looking at the towns that everybody else is talking about, the ones that show up first when you Google Connecticut relocation, you're missing towns exactly like this one. That's the mistake almost every relocation buyer makes, defaulting to the names you already recognize instead of trying to find the town that actually fits your budget and your lifestyle. And look, I get it. When you're relocating from out of state, it's tempting to just go with whatever town you already heard of, the one that your coworker mentioned once, the one that popped up on somebody's list a few years ago. But that's exactly how people end up overpaying for less house than they could have actually had in a town that doesn't even fit what they actually wanted. Every single town on today's list earned its spot with real numbers, and I have real experience behind it to back it up. It's not just for name recognition. Next up on my list is Plymouth, which came in at a $344,000 median price for 2025. And this is one of those towns that flies completely under the radar, and most people relocating from out of state never ever see it. Plymouth's got a real rural small town feel, rolling land, a slower pace without being cut from everything around it. I'm going to give you a perfect example. 427 North Harwinton. It closed recently at $489,000. It was a fully updated ranch. Who doesn't love a ranch style home? It had a sunken living room, mini split systems throughout, and a long list of recent improvements that were all taken care of by the previous owner. If space is what you're chasing, the actual yard has actual privacy with room to spread out and not hear your neighbors' conversations. Plymouth delivers all of this at a price point that leaves real room to spare inside of a $500,000 budget. And it's the kind of town where you can genuinely picture yourself settling in for the long haul. Now, Plymouth's mill rate is also in similar territory to Naugatuck's at 39.57. So again, strong home price, but a tax rate that is on the higher side, and you're going to want to factor that into your monthly payment from day one. Plymouth also has Terryville right inside of it. It's a small village center with its own identity, its own hardware store, a diner. It's the kind of spot where everybody still knows everybody. I want you to hold on to that pattern for a second because we're going to come back around to mill rates here in a little bit. And there's a specific reason I keep bringing this up every single time I talk about a town list. If you're finding this useful so far, please drop a comment. Tell me which one of these towns surprised you the most. I read every single comment myself and I respond to them. And it also helps me figure out what I should cover next. Next up on my list is Watertown, which comes in with a $365,000 median price for 2025. Watertown's got a real New England town green right at its center with historic homes surrounding it and a walkable little downtown with local shops and restaurants and real estate offices. Come see us, 731 Main Street. And it actually feels like a community instead of a strip mall. 237 Concord Drive in Watertown is a perfect example. It closed just under $500,000, but offered 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3,100 square feet with a formal living room, a wood-burning fireplace, an updated eat-in kitchen with slider access to the private back deck. I've worked in this town a lot, and it's a favorite for buyers who want charm without the price tag that usually comes attached to it. You're close enough to Waterbury, so you have the big box stores and the hospitals, but Watertown itself keeps that small town feel intact. There's a real mix of housing stock to choose from classic colonials to newer builds on the outskirts. The mill rate here is 30.04, noticeably better than the last couple of towns we went over, which means your monthly budget stretches a little further. Watertown also has Taft, a well-known prep school right in the middle of town, which adds a bit of character and some genuinely beautiful older architecture to an area, even if that's not why you're moving there. Next up on my list is Wolcott, which comes in just under $365,000 median sales price in 2025. Wolcott's a quieter, more residential town. It's mostly single-family homes, good-sized lots, and it sits close enough to Waterbury and the surrounding towns that you're never too far from anything. I'm going to give you a perfect example. 17 Forest View Drive closed at $400,000 even, and for that money, you got a 4-bedroom, 2-bath ranch on a corner lot with an updated kitchen, renovated bathrooms, a new roof, a fenced-in yard. This is one of those towns that doesn't get talked about much on other channels. And it's exactly the kind of place I point relocation buyers to all the time. If you want a straightforward, no drama, solid value purchase, Wolcott's mill rate, though, is 35.93. Again, a bit higher, but it's right in the middle of the pack for all of the ones we're looking at today. It's not flashy, and it doesn't try to be. It is built for a buyer who wants a solid house on a solid lot without any surprises. Wolcott quietly delivers exactly that every time. So here's a question for you. What matters more to you right now? The lowest possible price tag or the lowest total cost once you factor in what you're going to actually pay? So you got to keep that question in the back of your mind because it's going to matter a lot by the time we get to the end of the list. If you're watching this and you are seriously thinking about buying or selling a home in Connecticut, don't try to figure this out on your own from a screen at midnight, jumping between listing sites and Facebook groups, trying to piece it all together. Every single one of these towns has its own personality, its own trade-offs, its own hidden gems that you're never going to find scrolling through listings by yourself. Book a free Zoom relocation planning call with me and my team. We'll go through your actual budget, your timeline, what you require on your day-to-day, what your commute will look like, and if you've got anything else that's important to you, like your lifestyle, we will build that into a real honest plan for exactly where you want to be in Connecticut. This isn't a sales pitch dressed as a favor. It's a genuine planning session. And most of my clients tell me afterwards, it's honestly the single most useful half hour they spent in their entire move. My phone number's down below. Our website's down below. The call costs you nothing, and it saves you from wasting months of looking in the wrong places at the wrong homes while all the good inventory in these towns gets scooped up by somebody else who did their homework first. All right, back to the list. Next up is Southington with a median home price of $421,000 for last year. Southington is a bigger, more established town with a genuine downtown, a real apple festival every fall that draws in people from all over the state, a stronger mix of neighborhoods, some closer in and walkable, some out toward the edges with bigger lots. I'm going to give you a perfect example. 30 Melcian Drive, it closed at $450,000. And for this, the people got a 3-bedroom home with a new roof, updated appliances, central air, a deck that overlooked their private backyard, all while delivering highway access to 84 and Route 10, both of which run right through it. So commuting in almost any direction is straightforward. It also has a great school system with a strong sense of civic pride. It's the kind of town where the local paper still covers the high school football team and people actually show up to the town meetings. Southington's the kind of town that checks a lot of boxes. It has good shopping, good restaurants, good highway access without asking you to pay a premium for any single one of those. And the mill rate, 33.21. Again, right in the middle of today's pack, keeping your monthly number reasonable while you get a genuinely well-rounded town in return. Next up on the list is one of my personal favorites. It has to be. I've called it home for 50 years. Prospect comes in at $440,000 median sales price last year. I know Prospect extremely well. Again, it's genuinely one of the towns that I love. I've worked here for most of my life, and it's got this quiet, elevated, almost hidden feel to it. It's tucked above all the surrounding towns at the top of the mountain with real space between properties. I'm going to give you a perfect example. 6 Laura Ave closed at $470,000. It was a Cape-style home, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, fully finished basement with a commercial-grade outdoor kitchen. On top of that, it had beautiful natural light, gleaming hardwood floors. You get bigger lots here. It's close enough to Waterbury, but far enough away. You have mature trees, a genuine sense of privacy, and real rural character, even though you're only a few minutes from everything you actually need. Prospect's mill rate is 25.57. Thank you, Mayor Bob. And it's noticeably better than almost everything else we've covered so far on this list. It's really a difference maker when you're running your monthly budget on paper, because that lower mill rate means you save the money every single month. Every buyer I've personally walked through Prospect comes away saying the same thing. It feels bigger, it feels more private, and the price tag, it makes them do a double take. I think that's one of the reasons it belongs on today's list. It's also close enough to Waterbury that you have all the great restaurants Waterbury has to offer. You get the Costco's and the BJ's and all the big box stores without some of the drawbacks that Waterbury offers. You're also very close to Naugatuck and Southington. You're never more than a few minutes away from any of the towns we've covered already, which makes Prospect a genuinely convenient home base, no matter what your day-to-day looks like. And that brings us now to the one that I've been building towards this entire video. The town I've been hinting at since the very first line. The town where $500,000 doesn't just buy you a house, it buys the whole package. This town is Shelton. Shelton's 2025 median sales price landed at $545,000. Now on paper, that is the highest price on our list and still above the $500,000 mark we've been talking about. And I get why this number alone might make you want to skip right past this town. And this is exactly why you shouldn't. And I want to give you an example. Take 26 Oak Hill Lane, which was tucked away in Shelton's Huntington section. It closed right at $550,000. It was a one-owner home that was on a full acre of land. It had 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. It had the most tranquil brook running right through the backyard. That's not a stretch listing to make a point. That's a completely normal sale for this town. But here is the difference maker. Here's the reveal I've been teasing the entire video. Shelton's mill rate is 18.82. Compare that to Naugatuck at almost 40 or Plymouth's at almost 40. Shelton's tax rate is less than half of what you would pay in some of these slightly more affordable towns. You're getting a genuinely impressive Connecticut city here. It has a revitalized downtown. It sits along the Housatonic River. It has walking trails, a strong commercial base, real proximity to Fairfield County with that great job market, with a tax bill that is unbelievable. Shelton also has easy access to the Merritt Parkway in 95, so wherever your commute takes you, even if it's into Manhattan, this town keeps your options wide open without forcing you into a higher price bracket to get there. And even though the home price itself sits slightly above the rest, the actual cost of ownership will actually be lower. And the reason is you can afford $100,000 to $150,000 more expensive home when the taxes are half as much. So think about that. What does that actually mean to you? In plain dollars and cents, 2 buyers that are looking at identical homes in Naugatuck at $400 or in Shelton at $545. On paper, Naugatuck looks like it's got the better deal. But run the numbers. Over 5 years, over 10 years, what does that difference mean? And it adds up to be meaningful money. And it's exactly that kind of detail that never shows up in the listing photos or on your online search. I've had buyers walk into Shelton assuming it was completely out of reach, only to realize once we actually run the numbers, the true monthly cost put it within reach. This is exactly why Shelton is the one town on today's list I tell every single relocation buyer about, and you should put it at the top of your list so you could look at some homes there. It's not the cheapest home price. It's not even close. But dollar for dollar, factoring in what you actually get, especially when you factor in the long term of living there, it is an absolute game changer. 8 towns, 8 totally different price points, 8 completely different personalities. But Shelton is the one that stacks strong location with a mill rate that protects your monthly budget for years down the road. And honestly, this is exactly the kind of thing that gets missed when people try to research the whole state off their phone, scrolling through photos, and not digging deeper. That's the whole reason I put a video like this together, because this sticker price only tells half the story. The other half is exactly what decides whether your move feels affordable 5 years from now or it doesn't. So now remember, we are the most trusted relocation team here in Connecticut. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. We've got your back every single step of the way, from the very first conversation all the way through and past the closing. If you're serious about moving to Connecticut and want to keep going deeper into exactly what your money buys here, I put a full playlist together covering towns just like the ones we hit today, broken down county by county, so you can find exactly where you fit in best, whether you're leaning towards New Haven County, Hartford County, Litchfield County, or you want to see how these numbers stack up against towns closer to the shore. There's a video in the playlist built specifically around that part of the state. So go ahead and click it right here, and I will meet you over there.